This video is brought to you by Soundcore. Normally on this channel, I review some high-end audio gear that is mostly two-channel systems. And there is no mistaking that for many of us, Bluetooth speakers won't be replacing our hi-fi systems anytime soon, especially because of the limited space inside a traditional Bluetooth speaker. And also, while there are often many drivers in these Bluetooth speakers, they are still coming from the same chassis that isn't separated in space like traditional hi-fi setups. But I bet you can't do this with your hi-fi speakers. Waterproof. Okay, jokes aside, while it's no replacement for high-end home audio setups, there is also no doubt that some companies are pushing the boundaries and are paying close attention to better fidelity in their Bluetooth speakers, with lossless decoding and spatial audio especially. Especially the spatial audio is an interesting one. It is a technology that promises to bring more immersive 3D sound so that the sound seems like it's coming from all around you. In practice though, it is far harder as there are very few brands that have this new technology and often only sounds good with certain tracks mastered specifically for spatial audio. Yet, there are companies that continue to take spatial audio further in attempts to bring a more immersive sound in a compact package. Soundcore is one of them, and they are a fairly large company that has been around the block getting rave reviews from customers all over the internet. But are they at the audiophile level that they claim? Exactly when I was wondering that, many companies reached out to me, including some very famous brands that asked me to do a sponsored video on their products. I said yes, but with one condition. I would need to test the product before agreeing to do a sponsorship. Out of 6 different companies that initially reached out to me, funny enough, 4 of them immediately backed out, and out of the 2 that was left, I sent one back because the one I have here today by Soundcore simply wiped the competition while costing half the price. Introducing the Soundcore Motion X600. According to the Soundcore company, this is their first attempt at an audiophile grade product, so careful attention was paid to the materials and sound choices to please the most demanding audiophiles. I do have to say, I have to give it to them, this is perhaps one of the most elegant looking units they have brought to market in comparison to their other products in the market. A lot of that is the nicely machined metal chassis, but I wouldn't be doing this video if it was just looking pretty but didn't sound good. They also have a few unique features that actually do work great, and they're not simply gimmicks like you see on many Bluetooth speakers. Let's start by talking about the Bluetooth connection, as that's how most of us will connect to a unit like this. Soundcore claims that its Bluetooth connection has 3 times more data compared to the competition. Is it though? The claim comes from the fact that most Bluetooth speakers use SBC or aptX codecs that is around 328 kilobytes per second, while the LDAC used on the X600 is a audio decoding technology developed by Sony, which allows streaming high resolution audio over Bluetooth possible at 990 kilobytes per second at 24 bits, 96 kilohertz. So in short, the 3x more data claim does check out to some degree, but keep in mind that this is limited to Android devices. There are 5 drivers inside this metal chassis to help with making the speakers sound more spacious and feel less like you are hearing a mono speaker coming from a single point like lots of other Bluetooth speakers do. The Motion X600 has a full range driver, 2 tweeters, and 2 woofers powered by 350 watt amplifiers, DSP controlled of course. The full range upward firing driver that they call upward firing sky or whatnot is a driver that is activated by the spatial audio button here. And this function here is actually what was like the ultimate deciding factor in me doing this video, because this actually works pretty darn well. I obviously turned this function off to test what the non-spatial audio sounds like, and it was actually not bad at all. Like, one thing I liked was that it didn't sound like it was coming from a mono channel. It actually had some spaciousness, and I could hear left and right channels distinctively, and this is because this speaker does have left and right speakers dedicated to each side. But in all honesty, I don't see myself turning the spatial audio function off on this unit, like ever.
Sorry for the way you choose to see. but I'm not sorry for the way I have to be. Sorry for the pain that's in our heart. Never thought we'd be this far apart. There's a place out beyond, wrong and right, good and bad, black and white. There's a place out beyond, what is fair, I'll meet you there.
This isn't the first time I heard a spatial audio attempt from companies. I've had headphones, speakers, and even phones in here, and they were all interesting, but it never made me jump up and down, and that's because it only sounded good with certain music that was mastered for spatial audio. This is a little different. Soundcore actually designed their own algorithm to be able to decode any stereo signal coming in and turn it into 3 channels to allow for this spatial audio function to work nicely. What really impresses me though is that it actually sounds good, like on every track I've thrown at it, and not just spatial audio tracks. I even threw like movie tracks and movies. I watched movies on this thing. It all sounded good. And we will get to describing the sound here in a bit, but did I mention that this was their first attempt at the spatial audio algorithm they came up with? That's pretty insane to me, how this is their first try, and they literally nailed it on their first try, while literally every single Bluetooth speaker with this function I have tested has been sent back because I found it rather gimmicky. Let me just quickly explain what I mean by gimmicky. There are 2 scenarios I have seen. First is that many companies make their original sound without the spatial audio function just absolutely unusable, so that when you turn on the spatial audio function, you are like, wow, that's so much better. But the fact is that it's not so much better. It's just went from not listenable to now, okay, now that's listenable. Second, I've seen lots of products where you turn on the spatial audio function and then it does something weird, where the sound just adds some heavy echo or reverb effect where it sounds like you are in a huge room, which makes you turn up the volume a lot more and it just sounds unnatural and weird. The Motion X600 does none of those things. The actual original sound is pretty darn good, and I will show you some measurements I took in a minute. But the spatial audio function just makes the sound actually more spacious, without taking anything away or adding weird artifacts. It's not like other speakers where the sound is so bad to begin with and then the spatial audio is like a band-aid, but the upward firing speaker seems to just simply be doing its job of making the sound more spacious of whatever is being created by the other speakers already. And I am not the only one who finds the spatial audio function on this Bluetooth speaker exceptional. The Motion X600 ranked number 1 on their $200 wireless speaker category according to DxOMark, and ranked top 3 in spatial audio performance out of all wireless speakers, many of which were more expensive than the Motion X600. It also has plenty of buttons on top. Other than Bluetooth pairing and spatial audio buttons, we also have the power button as well as the bass increase button on the left hand side. And on the right, we have the volume up and down, play, pause buttons as usual. It also has an app for software updates, but also you do get an EQ in the app to play around with to tailor the sound more to your liking or your environment. You may notice that you have this aluminum handle which feels really nice, but where might you be taking this? Well, literally anywhere, like the showers or when you are out and about. It's summer, come on, we can't be hiding in our audiophile caves all day. And yes, you don't need an AC plug like some portable speakers did in the past. More and more speakers have battery life in a lightweight compact package now, and that's no different for the Motion X600 here. It has 12 hours of battery life according to the manufacturer. Obviously, this differs with many other factors like listening volume and resolution you are playing and so on. It also has a USB Type-C port for charging, and if you wish to connect your device like laptops, tablets, or so on with a physical cable, then it does have a standard 3.5mm jack. Now, the measurements are a little tricky on this one, so take it with a grain of salt, but more or less, this Quick response does align pretty well with what I heard. Firstly, this is the stock tuning on the signature tuning on the app. This is without the spatial audio turned on. Overall, pretty impressive for a Bluetooth speaker this small. Now it becomes even more impressive when you turn on the bass boost. You can see here that it does boost the upper bass and lower mid bass regions pretty well, but it does drop off faster, but that is relatively easy to fix with the EQ function in the app. But be mindful that when placed in a room, the bass will not drop off like this fast, and so don't go crazy with the increasing of the bass in the app or it may become too boomy. This was probably my favorite setting without the spatial audio function set. The bass isn't overbearing and it filled the music nicely I was listening to make it sound more full and impactful. This is definitely my choice for music, but also for watching movies from my phone or whatnot. Now, the app has many other settings for optimized voice, treble boost, and balanced sound signature. When I listened to them, I kept going back to the original tuning or the one with the bass boost, and this shows a little why. The red line is the voice tuning, and it does indeed give more emphasis in the mids by lowering the bass and treble, and it is a legitimate choice if you are trying to hear an audiobook or whatnot, but it wouldn't be my go-to for music or movies. The blue line here shows the balanced setting, and indeed it is more balanced and would be a close second choice for me depending on where or what I'm listening to. Now lastly, the treble boost is a no-go for me. It sounded a little bit weird compared to the other settings, and this is probably why. Nothing you can't try correcting with the given EQ in the app, but I don't see a reason to, as other settings are pretty darn good to begin with without all the dips in weird places. What's interesting is that it shows you the changes in the app and it's not far off. Now, like I said, I did prefer the overall sound with the spatial audio function turned on. Interestingly, the measurements show many of the dips and rises are gone with the spatial audio function turned on. And it's overall a more smooth response. The response shows that the bass is on the lighter side, but when you turn on the bass boost, it again fills that in nicely, so that's not something you should worry about too much. This has plenty of impressive bass for a Bluetooth speaker this size, and a pretty clean one at that, which is very unconventional in this category where many Bluetooth speakers have exaggerated bass that can quickly muddy up the sound, but this one doesn't. One more thing to note here is that there is a slight rising treble trend here, but that's probably because of the added output of the single driver on the top and the front two tweeters. It honestly didn't sound more bright to me when I turned on the spatial audio. It just filled in and made the sound more spacious. All in all, my favorite setting would be the signature setting plus the bass boost setting plus the spatial audio setting. I get surprisingly good quality bass and amount, like I mentioned. Great clear vocals and detail again for a Bluetooth speaker. And last but not the least, it is the most spacious sound with actual sound staging and somewhat good imaging without weird artifacts. And that is what really makes me like this speaker even more. It already is a pretty decent speaker, but the spatial audio function just makes it that much better as someone who enjoys soundstage and spaciousness in their music. One of the biggest things for me in testing other Bluetooth speakers I had in here was the jumbled up nature of the sound. Like there was no separation, no space. It all sounded like a bunch of noise and crowded. Many were just sent back because it just was too atrocious, but I feel like things are changing with some companies like Soundcore now stepping into the game and actually giving what audiophiles would want. Again, still a long way to go before a tiny speaker like this can replace a stereo system, if ever, but at least I can rock out to some good tunes in my garage when I'm working or out and about without breaking the bank. Remember, this is a $200 speaker. It excites me because my friends that are not audiophiles always ask me what's a good Bluetooth speaker or wireless speaker they can have for under $500 or lower. And I think I finally have an answer now. And so that's pretty much it from me. I hope this video was helpful and entertaining. If it was, please give this video a thumbs up as it helps me out greatly and it doesn't cost you anything. And please subscribe for more audio videos just like this, and I'll see you all on the next one. Until next time.